welcome Donna Anselmo, who will be speaking on power marketing in a tight economy. Donna is with Bold Marketing Solutions, and she's also the host of a WMEL radio show on Saturday mornings at 9:07, entitled what? Bold Marketing?
Bold Talk Business Radio. Is this on?
Okay.
Just have to wait 1 minute. Technical difficulties. Okay, we're good. Oh, great. I can hear it. All right. Well, welcome to our talk today on power marketing in a down economy. And I think it's a really good follow-on to what Jeff was just talking about in terms of your attitude. One of the power marketing strategies actually is optimism, and we're going to get to that. What I wanted to do with you today is tell you a little bit about the intention. We really have less than a half hour to do this, so you're going to witness me being the fastest talking woman in the world today to get through all these slides in 25 minutes. But what we really want to do is give you an opportunity to gain some insight into what's happening in the market today, tap into some solution thinking. Think about maybe where you are today, and if any of that fear is operating that Jeff was talking about, how are we going to shift that fear and get to the target that we want to achieve? We're also going to be looking at how do we fill the empty maps, and an empty map is what's going on in your head when you don't know what to do. And then we're going to have some very specific tips for marketing in a tough economy. And I have on every table a list of information, just an acronym that will help remind you of what these power marketing tips are, and you're welcome to take notes. And lastly, I hope that you're going to leave here today with at least one strategy that you have figured out will help you today. So one of my favorite quotes is actually from Helen Keller. I long to accomplish a great and noble task, but it's my chief duty to accomplish that task really in small steps. And that's a very important thing for you to think about when you're planning about where you want to go. Jeff was just talking about goals. When we're thinking about goals, it's the big picture out there. And this picture of the round bullseye is very important, and one of the things we talk about in planning, because this is what we call our next steps action line. And if you start at one end of the continuum and you move along, the important thing in getting to the goal is how you plan and think about what you have to do day to day, moment by moment, week to week to get to where you want to be. At the end, you've got this big interest area for you. So why is it divided into 3 circles? I'm going to tell you. It's because there are some things you can control, there are some things you can influence, and there are other things that you just can't control at all. So where we really want you to focus your attention is in the center of that bullseye, which are the things that you can do today that are in your control. The second ring are the things that are in your influence. And if you've got things going on in the economy, going on in your family, going on in your life that are out of your control, I beg you, I implore you, I ask you to please don't focus on them, let them go, and keep your attention focused in the center on the things that you can do to control and change the direction that you're moving. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the market. Jeff also was talking about all of the pessimism today, and we're going to address that. But the market has changed, and there have been some very fundamental changes, and that's going to affect what I want to talk about. It's not the same old, we all know that. And so your marketing behavior needs to adapt as a result. One of the things that's striking is that demographics in the market and how we look at market demographics have really changed. And it's changed because consumer behavior is shifting. One of the things that we can talk about is how we break up our market. That's a demographic. The demographic is who do you want to target. So typically when we target demographics or when we decide who is our target market, we look at categories of people with different attributes, like women who have adolescent children, people who are 34 to 55. These categories here, golf enthusiasts, they are all characteristics of people. But what's really happening is a change in how these people are actually responding to buying in the economy. Now what's happened is Harvard came up with a study, and it was published in the Harvard Business Review in the April issue. And what they talked about is the fact that consumer markets are changing based on how they are spending their money and how people are thinking about what's happened in their money situation. That influences every target market that you may be looking at. So the first category that the Harvard study revealed was the slam on the brakers. They're the ones that are saying, oh, hold up, okay, I'm reining in my pocketbook, I am putting on the brakes, I am not spending any money now because I don't have it to spend, or I'm worried about what's going on in the economy and I am not going to make a move until I can see what's happening. So these people are spooked and they have really made a difference. So if they're 35 to 54, or if they're women with adolescents, or if they're golf enthusiasts and those are your markets, that's all great, but you need to know, are they also slamming on the brakes? Or are they in the pains but patient category? Maybe they're feeling a little bit of difference in the economy. They know that something has changed. Maybe their sales are not as good as they used to be. Maybe they have to be a little bit more concerned. They're still out there spending, they're patient, they're waiting, they're somewhat optimistic, and they're waiting for change. So what you want to do when you think about who your market is figure out, are they slamming on the brakes? Are they just slowing down a little? Or are they your luxury buyers? Are they so comfortably well off that they are not going to be influenced by what's going on in the economy, by what they're seeing on television, what they're reading in the newspapers? Are they able, at the top perhaps 5% income bracket, are they able to still go out and respond to you the same way that they always have? And will you do things the same way that you always have for them? Or will you still be looking at what you can do to change in response to what's going on out there today? One of the last categories that they talk about in this Harvard study are the live for todayers, typically younger, more entertainment focused, give it to me now, I want the immediate gratification people. Those are people who are still spending money regardless of whether they have it and regardless of whether they're looking at long-term plans. So you want to say, within all of those target markets that are my demographic, that are the people that I'm looking to get at, how are they now looking at spending their money? So part of what you want to do is shift your perspective to match the way that other people are shifting their perspectives now. Because holy cow, things have changed, but it doesn't mean that things have stopped. It just means that we have to shift a little bit. When Jeff was talking earlier about, can you change somebody's perception? Can you change your reputation? Well, you can only change parts of that that are in your influence. And so the parts that we talk about are the parts that you do on a daily basis. And one of the biggest parts that you can influence is your own belief in yourself. Jeff and I are totally on the same path, and at 2:15 I'm going to be talking about the extraordinary self. We're going to be talking a lot about beliefs and how you shift your beliefs. So what do you do now? You target your market accordingly. You look at, are people just buying essentials? Are they cautious? Are they buying luxury, or are they buying by impulse? And then you have to master and mastermind your own marketing attempts in your own business to get in touch with that. So some of the steps that you can have to think about, and I'll give you some time to embrace this a little bit, is decide which brands, products, or services you really want to sell. What are your goals? What are the things that are going to work best in terms of the current market? Regroup yourself, change things if you have to, and make some time to make a plan, which we're going to talk about. Adapt your strategies, but focus on the proven profitable segments. In today's economy, you really don't have as much time as you might have in another time to leisurely test things out. Today, if you want to be successful, it's advised that you go with the proven people, the proven markets that are already working for you. And if you have to adjust for them, you adjust for them. But if they know that, if you know they work, that's where you should be putting your effort, in the piece that you can control. Allocate your resources accordingly to the groups that are going to bring you the best revenues, and innovate. Innovate means, obviously, think about ways that you can do things differently, because we're not in the same old environment. So where are you going to get the customers? What we're talking about now is, are you going to advertise? Who here is advertising in this economy? Who has spent any money advertising lately? Okay, well, the few of you who have your hands up, kudos to you, give them a hand, because these are going to be the people who you're going to be seeing out in the marketplace when a lot of other people are no longer there. What the studies are showing is that in the last recession, they looked at the demographics of people who spent money and people who didn't. People who continued to invest in advertising scored 2.56 times the market share that other companies lost while these people were advertising and the other companies stepped back. So that's a really key message in a recessionary economy. And why? One of the reasons is that you can really stand out. If everybody else is stepping back, you've just scored a big win because you're out there and you're still moving forward. That is going to enhance your reputation and your branding, and it's going to stay strong through the tough economy. Aggressive advertisers basically increase their market share 2.5 times over other companies. That's really important data. And so what happened is, as the last recession came to a close, everybody jumped back in and started advertising. So what do you think happened? Did it help those companies who jumped in? Any takers on that? The answer is not too much, because the people who all jumped back in at the same time. The people who stayed in the advertising market actually came out way ahead. Everybody else jumped into the pool at once. It was harder to differentiate. So what can we do? What we can do now is really focus on getting the information that we need to move ourselves forward, because you can make the right decisions when you have the right information, and content and knowledge and power, as we all know, are key. Pessimism porn. Think about it, and it's the same message that many of you who were here when Jeff was talking about, same message in my presentation today, is that you cannot let yourself get ruled by what's out there. You have to be successful in your head. If what you're seeing out in the market is depressing you, turn it off. So what you want to do is say, okay, I'm here now, maybe I've had a problem, maybe things are good, but I want them to be even better. So how do I go from here to here? I need to pick my focus, I need to decide what I want instead. But today, with all of the negativity, if it bleeds, it leads. So you want to shift from all that problem thinking into the target thinking. Acknowledge what is and move on, okay? If it's not so good, it's not so good for some reason for somebody else. But you can change it. You can change it when you put yourself in learning mode and you think about, what do I have to do, learn, think, or feel differently, or believe differently to succeed today? And how relevant is the information that I'm going to act on? And then how can I stay in continuous learning mode? Well, you can stay in continuous learning mode by thinking about what it is you need to do, targeting your goals, and knowing where you want to be. One of my favorite suggestions to people who don't know what to do, who have to fill that empty map, is to say, ask somebody. If you don't know what to do, you can get answers by asking friends, colleagues, mentors, business people. Call the Small Business Development Center. They have lots of ideas for you. But you need to poll people, because that will work as a focus group for you. So now we're going to get to the Power Up marketing strategy. Every table should have some samples of what we mean by powering up. And I'm a fan of acronyms. I think acronyms work really well to help people remember things. So the first part of powering up is planning, optimism, and opportunity, web presence, expertise to go. And I happen to have a little difference of opinion with our friend this morning, because I think that you can influence your reputation. And I'm going to tell you how. Relationship marketing is very key. Consider the utility of everything you do, because utility is where your value is. And again, when it comes to belief, Jeff was using the words have faith. I'm saying have unshakable self-worth. Wake up in the morning and believe that you are there and you're destined for great things. And it's not about what you do. People today get so caught up in money. They get so caught up in what we have and how much we can grab and how many things we can accomplish and what's our latest success goal. And goals are important, but at the root of it, you're not your money. You're who you are inside, and that is what's going to take you forward. So don't get caught in the money thing. Get caught in who you are, what you can do, what you bring to the table. That will help you plan to take the next step. That's where your value is going to derive from, in the utility and usefulness of what you do. And then you can publicize and promote. So P, planning and strategy. Know your audience. We talked a little bit about some of the key attributes of demographics. Who are you trying to sell to? Study that market, learn how they think, read about them. There's so much information out there on the internet today. You can find out almost anything you want to know by doing web searches. So there's no absence of information on target markets. One thing I read yesterday that surprised me is that young people don't really tweet. Now you hear all of this stuff about Twitter. It happens to be basically for a more mature audience, and I really thought, uneducated as I was on this, that younger people were using the Twitter all the time, and I'm finding out that it's not really their preferred medium. But I found that out by reading research on the internet. So there's a lot of information out there. But decide who is your primary market. What do you have to do to fit into that niche? And then think about, what are you doing in your plan? Because it's not just, oh, gee, I want to get out there. It's how profitable am I going to be if I do this? You have to attach a bottom line number to everything that you do. And that's really a part of planning. The planning has to tie not just to being able to do good things, but if you're doing it because you're in business, it needs to be doing good things profitably. And you have to be able to demonstrate and predict your return on investment, ROI. The next strategy in power marketing is to hold on to optimism. We talked a little bit about that already. But also to take an opportunistic approach. How many people here know what a SWOT analysis is? Okay, we have a few. Well, SWOT analysis is a very simple way of doing some market research so that you can learn what's going on in your market and you can learn how you can respond. It's another acronym. S is for strengths. Just do a big cross across it, put an S, a W, an O, and a T. And you start listing and work with somebody on your team. Sit down with your friend, your husband, your partner, girlfriend, a colleague, and say, okay, what are my strengths here? What can I bring to the table? What are my weaknesses? What gets between me and my goal? What are the opportunities out there? How can I target them? Is there a new business in town? Is there somebody else I can partner with? What could I be doing or thinking about differently that could be an opportunity that I haven't been doing anything with now? And then T are the threats. What's happening in the economy? What's happening with people who maybe are out there ready to compete with you next door? Who is out there that's making things difficult for you? And then once you know that, and you've kind of assessed what your opportunities are, this is a very good way of saying, how do I go to market? Because once you look at your S area, your W, your O, and your T's, you can start to add in the plans to deal with those. So this is a very good way of market planning, and it's simple, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to do it. So what you want to think about when you're thinking about what are your concerns, you always have to think about what your customer concerns are too. Business to business. If you're in a business to business market, the big drivers are always time to value. Can I save time? Can you help me save time? Can you help me save money or make money? Can you boost my productivity? Or can you make me an employer of choice? Will the people that I work for, and will I have better morale as a result of a change that you might bring to the table for me? So what you want to do is think about all of that. Go through your market analysis with your SWOT analysis, and then sharpen your own value proposition. Once you know the SWOT, you can say, okay, how can I best add value to the process? Add value, yes? Threats. T are the things that get in your way, the company coming around the corner, the issues with your bank, you know, things that maybe could make it difficult for you. But the big message here is to add value. So what are some of the opportunities that you can do to add value for your customers? Well, you can have coupons, you can have discounts, make it easy to buy from you. Can you be available for them after hours, before hours? Can you meet with a special client who needs you? Can you do something a little bit different? Do you have a light? How accessible are you? Are you offering special promotions to people? Are you doing special promotions for your favorite customers? Eliminate fear and remorse. Well, one of the ways to do that is to offer a satisfaction guarantee. When people, particularly if you're thinking about those pain but patient, they're not so sure, would a satisfaction guarantee or a special sales incentive, a special offer, move them into the sale mode? What about a special invitation or a limited time promotion? Creates a little bit of urgency, but sometimes can make people feel special when they get a special invitation. So those are some of the things that you can do in terms of creating opportunities for yourself, so you'll be a little bit more optimistic in your business. Scale and match those opportunities to your buyers. Remember who we talked about, the slam on the breakers, the pain but patients, the comfortable luxury buyers, and the people who are living today. So what can you do? Offer coupons to the ones who have slammed on the brakes. Invite other people who are in the patient mode to events. Get them going in a relationship with you. Have them come do something at your office, do something in your store. Offer to take a client out to lunch. Build the relationship. The people who are luxury buyers and they've got the money, you're going to appeal to their emotion, their fantasy, what it is that they really want to get from having all their money. And then the Live for 2 Dayers, you're going to talk to them about the experience. What does it mean? How can I be a part of it? And how can they be a part of it with you? So if you own a shop, maybe you want to do something that draws people in, that engages them with you. Show a movie outside, show a movie inside, get them in the store, but give them something that they're going to experience while they're there, even if it's a pinball machine. So look for the opportunities, scan the papers, what's happening out there, know what's going on out there, and see what fits your story. Contact a journalist is another way that you can have an opportunity. There's a great little secret that PR people know. It's called HARO, Help a Reporter Out. And it's a website. You can go to HARO, you can send them your email address, and they'll send you all the reporter queries that come into HARO every day. So if you want to contact a reporter, what better way to find out about what reporters are writing about than on HARO? Another way to find out what reporters are writing about is read the newspaper. I am a PR person. I do a lot of public relations. If I don't read a newspaper, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to tie my customers to the story. But when I read, I do know, and I know what reporter is interested in that topic, and so I can call them and get my people into the papers. Web presence. You have to have a strategy. You have to know why you're on the web. You want to basically think about, what is your website doing for you? Is it just a brochure? Is it just a picture up there? And I'm guilty because, you know, like everybody else, I get busy. So I spend a really long time with a really bad website, and I finally said, okay, it's really time to do this. And I jump in and I took the time I needed to think about, how are people going to look at my website? What do they want? What keywords might they be searching to get there? And so I've redone mine. Search engine optimization is the biggest thing that you have to be concerned with, because you can put your stuff on a website. Anybody can have a website. Who's going to find it is your big question. So you want to do what's called search engine optimize. You want to write your copy in a way that's matching keywords that people are searching. Then you have to put meta tags and meta descriptions into the copy. So if you don't know how to do that yourself, you've got to call a person with web expertise who can do that for you. But if you don't have your information tagged for search engines, it's going to be very hard for people to find you. So you can have a beautiful website that nobody will know about. So do the search engine optimization process. Find out what directories you can link your sites to and how many directories can link back to you. You get popular because you have more links to your website. So focus on a linking strategy. Think about blogging. How many here have a blog? Anybody here? Okay, good. And what's the name of your blog? Yeah. The personal blogger? Okay, great. Well, everybody go look him up because he's out there and doing something good, I'm sure. So get out there and do some blogging, but if you blog, and blog is a conversation that you start on the internet, and if you're blogging, think about what do you want to be known for, because it's not just enough to get out there and have a blog. You got to follow it. You have to have a message. You want to make people connect with you. You have to be consistent about it. So think about some of your blog strategy and make sure that you get there and change your content. And it's hard. We're all really busy, but we have to say what's our goal. And if our goal is to get out there and do it, and get out there, do it right, step up to the plate. And some other things you can do with web presence: email, e-newsletters, you can send them out over the internet, social media, you've got blogs. Setting up a blog is pretty easy. There are lots of tools that will help you to do it, and you can do it for free. You can use Facebook and Twitter to connect with people, YouTube. There's all sorts of stuff out there that wasn't out there a long time ago. And I'm writing a book right now for McGraw-Hill. I've just started and I'm very excited. It's a new contract. The book today is way different from a book I would have written 2 years ago. It's probably different from a book I would have written 6 months ago. And it's overwhelming when you get out there to try to figure it out, but you have to just know that you have to keep going with the flow and just try to stay on the leading edge of it. Hopefully my book will be out next year, helping people with information on what they can do in the current times. The big thing for you to think about is, what are you doing with your information now? In other words, do you know it but nobody else knows it? Do you have information that you could share and package in a way that will help people build relationships with you, or that you can sell? Because if you do, you need to start thinking about how you can package it and talk to people in marketing, because they can help you do that. There are some different things that you can do, and I know that we're running tight on time, so I'm going to run by this slide quickly. But what you basically want to do in everything that you're doing in your internet marketing or your personal marketing is build relationships with people. Be selective about how you want to be perceived. Do everything so that you're putting yourself in that zone. Keep people talking. Have feedback loops on your website. Get them to send you information. Give them sign-up things and make it free. The biggest thing that I've learned myself recently is that there's a lot that people have tried to sell over the internet, but the best way to get people coming in is to give them free stuff. As you give them free stuff and you build relationships with them, they'll come back because they'll have a relationship with you and you can be seen as their trusted advisor. But stir up the conversation if you can, and if you're writing on a blog, be very careful not to be disingenuous. Don't pretend that you're somebody else saying, hey, go to this person and buy all their stuff, and it's really you. Add to a conversation, add value. Try not to be salesy about it. That people do pick up on that. People who blog a lot do see when salesmanship is coming through the blog. They're looking for information, so give them information. Another thing, so web presence, we've got all of these social communities that you can join, which will help you boost your web presence. And then we get down to expertise to go. I host a show once a week, every Saturday morning, 9:07. If you turn on AM 1300 WMEL, you will hear me talking on Bold Talk Business Radio with somebody who could conceivably be you. And if you've signed up in my book, I'll be calling people. I may just pick a random person and invite you to come on my show. And what I do every week on that show is I bring people in to talk about business topics. My topics are for people like you. They're for people who are in businesses, small to medium-sized businesses, who are looking for what's the next thing out there, what's the next piece of advice that I can get, or that next little nugget of knowledge that's going to help me make my business succeed. Listen to the radio, and we bring you experts every week who have that information. If you're interested in coming on the radio with me, please call me. Visit me at boldmarketingsolutions.com. My contact information is on these power-up sheets, and you are welcome to reach out to me. You know, the one thing about being in the media, I was a journalist for a number of years. I wrote for the New York Times as a freelancer. I used to run a group of community weeklies. But if nobody tells you the news, you don't know it. So I was an expert in writing, so I was able to write for a newspaper. But I wasn't an expert in all of the different things that you do. If I don't have you telling me all the wonderful things that you do, I don't have anything to write about. So you have all the gold that the people in public relations, marketing, and journalism want to see, reach out to them. Call me, I'll be happy to help, because I love to hear people's stories, and I am really naturally nosy. Relationships, build your relationships. That's what the whole thing is about. If you can power up the communication that you do with people, you can create the business of your dreams. But it's not about how many friends you have on Facebook. People go crazy. Oh, friend me, give me your email, put me on your list. It's not about how many people are on your list. It's great to be able to market out that list, but it's not about how many people are on the list. It's about how many relevant people are on the list. How many people can you connect with in a meaningful way and become involved with you? And how many people do you want to be involved with? Another way of building relationships is to recruit people who can talk about what you do and who care about what you do. I see Dawn, so I know my time is running up. Hello? Okay, we're back. Back from our commercial break. So what we want to do with relationships is to find out who do we know that can tell our story out in the community for us. It's really important. I used to work in a hospital. So if you had hospital people there who were grumbling about how bad the care is or how bad the department manager is, that doesn't tell a really good story for the hospital. You want to have people who are happy and talking about what great care that they get. So we did have an ambassador program. We were very conscious about it because we knew that everything everybody said about us in the marketplace preceded us and created our reputation. So you can get people who can do that for you. Another way to get your word out there is through affiliate marketing, signing up with other companies to represent your product on the website, to either be in a partnership or a reseller mode with you. And then to think about, is there a particular small area of the market, a very tiny little niche that will help you to enter that niche in a way that you can make more money than you can if you're trying to be out in a broad market. More relationship stuff is, how do you build your relationship? You need to be consistent. Jeff was talking about character. Character builds consistency. If you're living in your own integrity, you are consistent. When you're out of integrity, you're not consistent. Be consistent with your message. Be telling the same story on your website, in your literature, when you talk to people, when your friends talk about you. It should always be the same. Position yourself with specialized expertise. Are you an expert in anything, in one particular area? What do you know very well? Become known for that. Join referral networks. I belong to BNI. It's worked very nicely for me. BNI is Business Networking International. The Women's Business Center is another wonderful network. So get out there and network consciously. That means know what it is you want to get out of your networking. A lot of times you just go out and you're like, okay, I'm going to be there today. I got to get out. I have to be seen. Well, what does being seen do for me? Not very much. What does for me is when I go networking with a goal and I say, hey, I need to meet a particular person, or I have to get a particular message out to people today, or I have to ask for a particular referral. Always have at least 1 to 3 things that you specifically want to accomplish when you network, and that will really help you to leverage your marketing. The halo effect is the glow that you can get by being seen in other places. So you can build a halo effect as you affiliate with other people, and when other people are pictured on your website and they're good people or good products, that reflects on you. Likewise, the other way. Utility and unshakable self-worth, so we're now in the up part of Power Up. Everything that you do has to have value. Value is based on how useful you are to others. If you give them what they need, if you help them solve problems, what is it that you have to give them? That's where your utility comes in. Know where you add value. Have that very clear in your mind. I talked about the business-to-business market, and I know that very well because I do a lot of business-to-business marketing. As I said, the value you add in B2B is usually time to value. You're helping people save time, add money, save money, add productivity, and add morale. So if you have to change your value proposition because you're not really sure what it is, get out there, change it, write it down, figure it out, talk to people, and ask people what value they see in what you do, because you'll get some very good information. I came down to Florida 18 months ago, And I would tell people I was a marketing person. Somebody said, "You're a business coach." Well, I didn't know I was a business coach, actually, because nobody had told me that before. But once they said it, I said, wow, that really makes sense. And guess what? It stuck with me. I was actually coaching people, but that wasn't where I saw my brand. And it did change. And it changed because I was able to ask people, well, what do you think? And I got back feedback on my value proposition. So if you need to change your positioning, it's okay. You can change position. You just need to know where you want to go and where you want to be instead. Once you know that, you make your plan and you move forward. Some of the things you can do in publicity. Remember that when you're doing publicity, somebody is sitting at that editor's desk thinking about it and saying, who cares about this? Do I care? Was one of the things that I learned as a journalist. I was very proud of my first story, my first thing that I ever turned into to my editor. And she looked at me and I wrote a great grammatically correct story. But she said, so what? And I was like heartbroken. But so what was a great question, because what she was saying is, who cares about this? What difference does it make? Where's the value in the story? And as many of you have learned the same way I did in school, you start with a little sentence and you build up to a big summary, which was how I wrote that article. I learned on my first day as a journalist that nope, you flip that around, you tell the important story first, because people don't have time and you want to maximize your time. So think about that. Think about what you can do, what kind of events can you host, where you can be to help people see your value. And what are the most frequently asked questions people ask you? Because that will tell you a little bit about where you need to drive your value proposition. Some other strategies that you can think about are tying in with a big news story. Tie in with breaking news. If something is happening in the news and you've got a perspective on it, call the reporter. Talk about a trend. What's happening in real estate? Is it a trend? I'm hearing that there are houses just selling in my development suddenly. Is that the beginning of a new trend? That could be a new news story. Think about tying into the time of year. You want to do promotion. Is it Mother's Day? We're coming up on back to school. What have you got for back to school people? What have you got for the holidays? Tie into what's going on seasonally, and that's another good hook. Reporters are always looking for something new in the season. Create a top 10 list. These are the top 10 things you can do to find a new house. These are the top 10 ways you can power up your marketing strategy. Create, if you don't have 10, you've got 5, you've got 7. But give some good tips, and a reporter will look for those tips because it makes it easy for them to write the story. Play on words. How to sell a house when no one is buying. That's a great thing. A reporter will think that's catchy. Things you love to hate. That's another catchy title. Raise a controversial issue. The media now loves to get involved in the story. So if you've got some controversy to share, call them up and tell them. The media gets involved and people get emotional, and that's what makes news. Offer a makeover opportunity. Do you have a kind of a business that you can say, oh, I can do a makeover in somebody's house. I can make a person over. Edna Patton is awesome for that. She's outside. She's going to be talking, I think, at 3 o'clock today. And Edna does image presence. She's got the greatest makeover. The Mary Kay people have great makeovers. But you can also do a business makeover. I can entirely make over your business. So think about that. Declare a holiday. Who did that recently in the news when they had the political tea parties? And that was, they just declared a holiday. It got covered, maybe not as much as some people think it should, but it did get a lot of coverage. Declare a challenge. Media love those things. Test my product. I'm going to let 10 people test my product and tell you the truth about how it works. Become a resource. If you call a reporter and that reporter doesn't want to talk to you, says, no, I'm not interested in that, say, well, you know what, maybe I can introduce you to somebody else and have that other person ready, so you become a resource to the reporter. Ask if you can be put to the test. Put me to the test. I'll do it. I'll help somebody get over their fear of snakes in 10 minutes on your TV show. Well, that's a great challenge. Think about some of the hazards people can avoid. People who are particularly in the environmental field, a hazard story would be a great idea. So these are just some of the things that you can do to power up your promotions. If you're thinking about advertising, remember it's a buyer's market. I know that if you go to an advertiser today and you say, hey, what can you do for me? They want your money, they want your ads, they will deal with you. And very often if you wait until the end, sometimes there's a twist there, but sometimes you can wait and then they have something available and you can get a discount on it. So there are some opportunities to call for last minute spots and make a deal. Lastly, before we sum up, as we're summing up, these are some tips that you can think about to accelerate your branding. Believe in what you're doing, decide to do it, make sure that it's relevant, focus on a particular market, decide where you want to be in that market. Positioning means, are you the top tier, biggest vendor, or are you the discounter? But you have to know that, and it's okay to be either one, as long as you know what you are so that you can market appropriately that way. I think defining your expert status is a really good strategy. Be clear and consistent. Think about sensory integration and sensory connections. Make people's mental pictures. Try to understand and see and listen to how they talk to you, because if they say, well, what I'm seeing is this, you can cue right in and say, I'm talking to a visual person. Let me make it very visual, my presentation to them. If the person says, well, let me hear what you have to tell me, guess what? They're listening to your words, so you have to think about that. You can really change the way you talk to people by changing the words that you use, and by changing the words that you use to mirror the way that they think and see things and process information. You can actually impact the outcome of your conversations with them. Know your audience, do your market research, innovate, create special experiences for people. And as we said, create a halo effect. The most important thing, I think, is probably the last word here. Be resilient. How do you create resilience? Reduce your exposure to negativity. For those of you who weren't here before, Jeff Pearsall gave basically the same message, so I'm going to pass it over. Take a next step now. Think about what is the one next step that you are going to take now. If you leave here on your sheet of paper, no, that's in my 215 seminar, but in the 215 seminar, we're actually going to take next steps. We're going to assess goals, and we are going to look at what we can do differently. And then you're going to write down those answers. But think here about taking the next step for yourself with your marketing. If you have questions, please call me. You can reach me through WMEL Radio at 631-1300, or you can call me. My number is on the pages here. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Well, then I think we're all done, and I want to give you a hand for waiting so nicely. Thank you so much. You're a great audience.